Hey y'all, it is a new double dose episode of Steph and Cat Talk Wow, where we have championship implications, people trying to shoot their shot, and reality TV icons here again trying to skip the line. This is Steph and Cat Talk Wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Making her way to the mic. They start dimming the lights. You start feeling alright. From Birmingham, home with the Teddy Longs and the Ruben Studders. More once you discover. For all of the lovers, Whitney Houston and Roman Reigns. For all of the lovers, and Mickey James and Marvin Gaye. For all of the lovers, and Sasha Banks, Janelle Monáe, Silk, Sonic, and Paige. Allow me to say, look, I just found a place, sweet escape. Every one of us, I was kinda late. I just made it off the struggle bus. Walking by the fate, cause I know it's right in front of us. Yo, I ain't with the hate, gotta focus.
Hey y'all, welcome to a new double dose episode of Steph and Cat Talk Wild, brought to you by the Hardy Wrestling Podcast and In Cat We Trust. Of course, I'm your girl Stephanie Hardy, host and creator of HWP, HWP Extra, and this fabulous platform known as Steph and Cat Talk Wild, co-creator of that. And HWP is, of course, celebrating 5 years of chill, positive, and passionate wrestling vibes on tomorrow. So today is anniversary eve. So thank you to those in advance who have already sent me happy anniversary greetings. And of course, if you do want to continue those throughout the rest of the month of February or even this weekend, you can do that as well. I'm very grateful to have made it as far as I have in this wrestling media space, not just with the show, but also with writing and so many other avenues. I'm really grateful. Sadly, Katrina, my bestie, my tag team partner, could not be with us tonight because her kids are fantastic and doing all kinds of amazing things. Her son made the honor roll, so big ups to him for that. So she is off doing mom things with him and all of her children. I always say that she is a super mom, but when I say and introduce her that way, it's only because it's true. Miss Ma'am is not only just an author, she is also a host, a correspondent, but in the midst of all of that, she raises three children and they do all kinds of amazing things and they are so gifted and so wonderful. And they just continue to be inspiring. So I'm just really proud of her as a mother and I'm proud of her children. So if they ever see this, I hope they know that I am always proud of them and rooting for them because they are just fantastic. But that's why Katrina's not here. So y'all are just stuck with me. So of course, if you are watching this show, even though I know that in some areas SmackDown is coming on, thank you so much for sticking with me as I talk about what's happened on the last two episodes of Wow, Women of Wrestling Superheroes. And of course, if you want to continue to support the show, watch all the episodes on the live portion on both of our YouTube channels. That's In Cat We Trust and the Hardy Wrestling Podcast. And anytime you see clips shared, please share them all over social media so we can continue to support this fabulous platform as it continues to grow. So, of course, in the midst of everything that has happened in women's wrestling, wow, of course, did still air. And I also want to thank those who were supporting me when I was gone to Royal Rumble weekend in Indianapolis. That was fantastic too. But I'll talk more about that at a later time because we are here to talk about wow. So, the first thing we got to talk about is the commercial for Pup's Pantry, which was this special dog food that Goldie Collins gets for Alexander. They did a whole commercial for it with cans of it and everything. And even on commentary for the dog match, for the dog food match, Nigel Zane was talking about how he really feels like this is not the best food that you need to be feeding your dogs. But hey, I mean, who's going to tell Goldie Collins that? Who is really going to have the courage to say that to her face? So I thought that was pretty interesting and funny. But of course, at the bottom of the screen, you cannot, it did list that you cannot find Pup's Pantry at any store that sells dog food. So if you're watching WoW and you saw that can of dog food, you cannot find it there. So do not find it. Do not go to Walmart and try to shop for Pup's Pantry that you saw on WoW. Don't do that. So yeah, that was interesting. So of course now we move into our first match of the first episode called Loser Eats Dog Food, which aired January 25th and the 26th. The first match was a tag team match between Miami Sweet Heat, the Carlson twins, of course, accompanied by the fabulous Lana Star, going up against Chantilly, Chella, and Kalaki, the Island Girl. And let me just say, this match was pretty fire. Before the match got started, they showed unaired footage of the excitement that Holly Swag had at the idea of her being a tag team with Penelope Pink, and of course, Penelope wasn't too happy about that, but I will get to that later. Holiday, who is normally Chantilly Cella's tag team partner, is out with an injury, but as soon as she gets back, they all plan on having a trios match against um top tier. So we're gonna get that started. But of course, this tag team match is happening. Lindsay and Chantilly started the match, and there was a very power versus speed and agility dynamic between Chantilly and Lindsay. But of course, Kalaki was able to tag in and trip up Lindsay along with Chantilly Chella. Their tag team chemistry was on full display here. And it was definitely a battle of the chemistry because Kalaki and Chantilly have been working as a good team over the past couple of months, but at the same time, you can't fight against the chemistry of twin sisters. And that's one thing that was definitely on display between Lindsay and Laurie. Lindsay was actually assisting Laurie by pulling on Laurie's arm to add pressure to her stretch submission that she was putting on to Kalaki. But as you can see, Chantilly and Kalaki were working well together. But then there was one point where Laurie actually had an abdominal stretch to Kalaki, and then there was a series of back elbows that both that basic that Kalaki gave to both of the twins, but then Lori wound up getting attacked and then tagged in Lindsay and gave a flying splash to Kalaki, and then finally the match ended when Lori and Lindsay would hit a cartwheel double kick from the top rope, and then Lori hit the fab jab after spinning Chantilly and knocking out Kalaki out of the ring, and the Carlson twins wound up winning the match. And after this, they cut a promo and said, Lana, it's so disgusting. When we were champs, we were representing this company with class. I mean, look at us. We're a class act. And I'm getting real tired of hearing about these hillbilly tag team champions in regards to Big Rig Betty and Jesse Jones. Nobody cares because when those one time tag champs get back in the ring with Sweet Heat, one time champs is all they are ever going to be. And everyone knows that those tag team titles belong to us. So stop playing around, David, and give us our rematch. So they are, of course, angling for yet another rematch for the tag team titles that they feel like belong to them. But David didn't sound too thrilled about it. So I'm hoping that he actually shows some resistance to them because, here again, something that me and Katrina always complain about is the fact that you always have the Carlson sisters thinking that they're just supposed to be first in line every time they lose those titles. But we need to see them work their way up. Now, just because they got the defeat this time does not mean that they can just sit there and just feel obligated to get chance after chance after chance. When you have tag teams like Chantilly and Kalaki and like the Dojo Defenders and the Mighty Mites, who I'm sure would love an opportunity at those tag team titles. But Miami Sweet Heat wound up winning this match here, so we're gonna move on. We did get a promo from Samantha Smart and the WoW World Champion, the Class Master. And they did not take too kindly to being interrupted. And of course, this is what Samantha said. She said, "Last week, those hillbillies interrupted me while I was enlightening the stupids." She was talking about the audience members. And I'm just like, how rude do you have to be to call somebody stupid? Um, you see, when we step in this ring, it is not a fight. It is a clinical dissection of inferiority. We are the surgeons, and our opponents, they are just the specimens on which we like to experiment. Our victory is a scientific certainty. So it's okay. Go ahead and accept your place in this world and know that it is beneath us because the class master is the alpha, the omega, and the undisputed wild world champion. Losers. So yeah, I do find it interesting though that Samantha, even though she is the IQ superior manager, she is always doing a lot of the speaking for the class master who is actually the champion. And for somebody who prides themselves as having a PhD and telling everybody in the audience to read a book and get smarter, she's never speaking for herself. And I wonder if that's by design or if she feels insecure in that. But I'm really gonna need for Persephone HD to actually speak for herself a little bit because yeah, you are the champion, and yes, Samantha did help you, but at the same time, you're the champion. You are the mighty one that everybody is coming after. I want to hear what you think about certain things. But of course, managers have a tendency to just take full advantage of all the power that they have on this show and just say whatever they want to say. So I guess maybe we'll just have to wait later for that. But either way, the class master seems to be game to face whoever stands in her way to challenge her. So we move on to match number two, which for me in this case, honestly, was I was watching it on YouTube, so some of my matches are not in complete order, but we're gonna move on anyway. To talking about Crystal Waters versus Chainsaw. And of course, Chainsaw came out with Angelica Dante. And a very amazing part that I loved about the presentation of Angelica Dante is the idea that she came out with these amazing pants and this red corset. Yeah, she came out with her flesh fan, which matches up with Chainsaw's flesh vest, but I don't know if Katrina was able to find a picture of Angelica Dante's flare jeans, but they were some of the cutest pants I've ever seen. And if you've ever seen Mickey James, that wrestling legend, wrestle in the ring with flare pants, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Angelica's was absolutely fire. So it was really cool to see Crystal Waters again back in the swing of things because we really had not seen her since this new season had started. She came out, she had like um a one piece swimsuit with just one smaller beach ball, not a really large one of because of course she's a part of Spring Break 24/7 with his Crystal Waters and oh my gosh, I forgot the name of the other girl. Please forgive me. I'm so sorry. But charge it to my head, not to my heart. I promise. This match felt a little bit one-sided at first because um Crystal Waters tried to hit two dropkick attempts and tried to outmaneuver Chainsaw in the early going of the match. But Chainsaw just proved to be too powerful. She gave a claw, but then doesn't follow through with Angelica's instructions. She actually grabbed Crystal's hair. And Crystal even tried to like stomp and leg drop. Well, Crystal tried to back out of a lot of moves, but Chainsaw was just too strong, and then she stomped and leg dropped onto Crystal Waters. And Crystal Waters actually tried to hit like a jawbreaker, but here again, it was to no avail. And she even gave a couple of drop kicks, but when you try to hit a drop kick onto Chainsaw, it just doesn't really work as well because she's just so strong and not easy to move in terms of, a smaller person trying to, hit onto her in that way. So in the midst of that, Chainsaw decides to just give her a choke slam and give her the 1, 2, 3. This was a very one-sided match. Chainsaw was also adding insult to injury by yanking on her nose and stuff because she loves to yank on body parts. So Chainsaw won the match, but in the midst of everything, Angelica Dante was trying to tell Chainsaw to punish her more after the match was over, even though the referee was discouraging it. And as Chainsaw was getting ready to attack her more, Pep Riley comes out and pulls Chainsaw away and tries to tell her not to attack her anymore. And Angelica is yelling at her, saying, "No, you need to finish this because I said so. You need to finish this because I said so." But then Chainsaw decides that she doesn't want to do it and she leaves with Pep Riley. So this was very interesting because Angelica Dante is the little sister, right? And the thing about her being the little sister is that, or even any type of dynamic where you have like siblings, there's one sibling who is just a little bit more forceful and can be a little bit more, bossy in a sense. But Chainsaw is really like having a mind of her own at this point and choosing to not be this destructive monster that she used to be. And this is making Angelica mad because she feels like she can't control her because now she's cultivated this friendship with Pep Riley. And it's hard to explain what type of bond that these two have. But at the end of the day, it must be strong for her to turn her back on her sister. So I guess maybe as the rest of the season goes on, we'll figure out more, we'll get more answers to that. But it was really interesting watching Chainsaw choose Pep over her own sister, Angelica. Like, that was really, really nuts. But yeah, I just couldn't believe that when I first saw it. I was like, wow, like, you're really, going to the light side now. It's just really interesting how that is turning out. But like I said, we got to wait and see what unfolds with that. So, match number 3 was the Brat Pack, BK Rhythm and Gigi Gianni versus the Fierce Sisters, Foxy and Roxy. This was a very interesting matchup here because, of course, I didn't necessarily expect this when it was announced, but I was like, okay, well, this is going to be really different to see what's going to happen here because, of course, the Alliance has been running roughshod over the WoW locker room. But, of course, David McClain, because he was irritated with the way that Adriana Gambino handled business last time in her last match, he banned the rest of the alliance from ringside. So this was a fair and square match. Um, Foxy Fierce here again was kicking all sorts of butt. If it's one thing I never get tired of, especially during Black History Month because it just hits different, is seeing the representation and the power that both of these women have as sisters and as a tag team. And when this match got started, Foxy kicked BK and tossed her across the ring and had all kinds of hip strikes into the corner onto BK, and then Foxy actually hit a back kick to BK with a 2 count. Foxy was very powerful in the first part of this match. Then Roxy and Gigi tagged in, and then Roxy shows that she's been in the lab and she actually hit a couple of arm drags onto Gigi Gianni, who is a veteran at this point, in comparison to Roxy and her experience in the ring. And then she locked in an armbar to Gigi and she splashed her into the ring corners. And she did a hip attack onto Gigi as well for a 2 count. And they hit a heart attack, which was very impressive. And it looked like they were about to end this match relatively early with that heart attack, but BK broke up the count. BK and Gigi doubled up with a drop toe hold into a knee that was positioned by BK Rhythm, and that was very impressive. Gigi was actually smart enough to yank Roxy off of the apron, and BK gave an abdominal stretch to Foxy, but then Roxy was able to get back in and give a double clothesline and a suplex series to both BK and Gigi. And then there was a little bit of do between the girls, with BK and Gigi being ran into each other, and then there was a double schoolboy roll up pin from the Fierce Sisters in order to win that match. So the Fierce Sisters came out victorious here, and this was awesome to see because they are two of my favorites to possibly challenge for those tag titles. So this was a really great showing from them, and it's really nice to see what can happen when you have two tag teams fight each other fair and square and not have any weird outside interference. And the Fierce Sisters came to play and came to fight with these women, and they brought their A game here. And that was really, really amazing to see. So I was happy that Foxy and Roxy got the victory there, and I just want to see them get more and more victories as this season rolls on. I really would love it if either one of them challenged for the Wild World title. Because as I feel like for as long as me and Kat have been covering this show, we might have only seen Foxy challenge for the Wild World title maybe once or twice. And I feel like, in comparison to so many other women who have challenged multiple times upon multiple times, I feel like we're due to see one of the Fierce Sisters challenge for that title. So, David, if you're watching this or anybody, WoW powers that be, make it happen. Make one of the Fierce Sisters challenge for the WoW World title, please, please. And thank you. So, moving into the main event after the recap that they showed of how Big Rigs and Bourbon got into it with Animal Instinct, we move into the main event. Jesse Jones and Big Rig Betty, the WoW World Tag Team Champions, going up against Animal Instinct in a dog food match, where, of course, the loser has to eat the Pups Pantry dog food. Now, this wasn't like a long time ago, if you remember, where Roman Reigns was in that match with Baron Corbin, even though I know that's not his wrestling name anymore. So respect to that man. Where they fought in the match and just threw like had dog food all over each other, like in the first part of the match or whatever. This was a match where the dog food came in afterward. So this was a classic tag team match, non-title tag team match. In in the beginning of the show. Animal Instinct were definitely feeling like they had the upper hand here in the midst of it. But of course, you know, when you're the Wild Tag Team Champions, you have a lot of gusto and a lot of advantage there because, hello, you're the champions. So this match actually didn't even get started fairly because before the bell even rang, Katarina and Goldie started attacking Betty and Jessie immediately, and I was just like, God dang, can you just like let them get in the ring first? But of course, Jesse Jones and Betty were not here for it. They fought back and hit a double elbow, and their chemistry was definitely on display up against Katarina by taking advantage of her and slinging her around and twisting her up. But then there was, of course, double shenanigans on the part of both teams when it came to ref distractions. It was like, since Animal Instinct likes to use the distraction of the ref to get the upper hand in their match, Jesse Jones and Big Rig Betty decided to play the exact same game. And it was really cool to see both teams sort of playing that sort of game as opposed to just having one team be a face team and the other team use underhanded tactics. I thought that was really cool. But then Big Rig Betty gets inside the ring, but then Goldie Collins wound up dog sitting her by sitting on her back onto the ropes. And then Katarina attacked Betty with her claws and scratched her back. But Jesse Jones gets the hot tag and attacks Katarina and then thumbs Goldie's eye and tosses her out. And then they hit a double kick onto Katarina and get a 1, 2, 3, and they win this non title match, which means that Animal Instinct has to eat the Pups Pantry dog food because they lost, right? And if you took a good look at this dog food, it kind of looked like Sloppy Joe, but I know that that's not what it was, but just at for a visual, that's kind of what it looked like to me. But I guess maybe it's because I just haven't had a sloppy Joe in like forever. But oh my god, it was really gross looking because humans are not meant to eat dog food. But David gave them the bowls and silver spoons to feed to Animal Instinct. But Animal Instinct wound up attacking um Big Rigs and Bourbon with dog collars, and wound up pouring the dog food all over them and making it unfair in that way, and ran away from them after they attacked them with the dog collars. So they were very Big Rigs and Bourbon were very irritated with this. So Jessie got on the microphone and suggested that in order to even up the odds between these tag teams, that they have a dog collar match. And the way she put it in the promo was like, you know what we do with dog collars in the South? And I was just like, as a Southern black woman, I would love to know, what do you guys do with dog collars in the South? I I was very unsure about that. I was like, wait a minute, what did I miss something? Did I miss something? What do you mean? What do we do with dog collars in the South? But then she went on to explain wrestling history and how so many wrestlers from the South, like Dusty Rhodes and Terry Funk, wrestled in different matches that had dog collars with them. And I was like, oh, okay, so that's what you mean. And she challenged Animal Instinct to a dog collar match. So that's not coming within the next episode, but it is interesting how this is going to turn out. And Animal Instinct did not look too thrilled, but of course, David McClain was crunk, so you know at some point it's going to happen. So that was the end of the Loser Eats Dog Food episode. And now we're going to move into the episode that aired this past weekend, Royal Rumble weekend, called Championship Demands. And this episode got started with Abilene Maverick coming out with her protege, Abilene the Colombian Goat Mayfield. And Abilene decided that she wanted to throw shade at David McClain and say, David, well, let me see if I can do her voice just to make it funny. David, I bring in the biggest reality TV star in the entire world, the literal GOAT, and I think that she deserves a match against the Classmaster for the Wild World Championship. And David is like, we gave you a great opportunity when we put the GOAT in the 12-person battle royale. Now, because she didn't win, she's going to have to start over and work her way up like everybody else. And then Abilene was like, they were all cheating, David. You know that, and I know that. But then Abilene said, no, no, David. You know what that sounds like? It's just that there's not a single woman on this roster who wants to face the GOAT. But then Santana Garrett comes out and says, look, I've got the guts and I'm a former WoW champion. So, David, what do you say? And he makes the match official, and that's what starts the episode. We get Santana Garrett versus Paola Mayfield, the Colombian Goat. This match was pretty fire. There was a trading of wrist twists and submissions there. Both women seemed very game for each other, but I will say this: Santana seemed to outmaneuver Paola Mayfield a good bit. I'm still learning Paola as a wrestler because here again she is relatively new and we've only seen so few matches from her, but she seemed to hold her own pretty greatly against Santana. Paola actually reversed one of Santana's moves into a triangle chokehold. Santana Garrett was able to push out of it and here again do another wrist lock to Paola Mayfield. Paola actually hit a couple of arm drags that looked very impressive as well. Both of these ladies kept locking up multiple times. Paola was playing dirty by yanking Santana's hair at one point, and then she hit a springboard arm drag onto Santana. And like I said, she was very athletic here. But in the end, Santana was able to battle back with a back handspring and a side leg sweep. And just when it looked like she was about to win this match, Paola hit a knee to Santana's forehead. And when Santana was trying to hit the rise and shine and go for the shining star press, Abilene outside of the ring pulled on her arms and knocked her down. And Paola took advantage with her finisher. And Paola wound up winning the match. So, yeah, this was a janky win on the part of Paola because she took advantage of Abilene interfering. And then Abilene wasn't even that sneaky about it either. She did it right in front of David and Nigel on commentary. It was crazy. So Santana got on the microphone after the match and asked David for a rematch because she was like, "Look, you saw how that went, David. Can I please have a rematch?" And David was like, "Absolutely." And then he barred Abilene Maverick from ringside. So at some point, we will get the rematch between Paola the Colombian Goat and Santana Garrett, and it will hopefully be fair and square, unless Abilene has yet another trick up her sleeve, because y'all know she's good for that. So now, in well, yes, match number two was the reluctant team of Penelope Pink and Holly Swag with Lana Star going up against the Dojo Defenders, who have been rising up in the tag division over the past couple of weeks with their victories. So, like I mentioned in the first episode that I just covered, Penelope Pink does not seem too happy about tag teaming with Holly Swag. Holly definitely seemed more excited about it than she did. And even in the moments where it seemed like Penelope and Lana were doing their regular hand thing that they do when they enter the ring, Holly just pushed them out of the way and just tried to center herself. And Penelope is just not a big fan of it at all. So as they made their pink entrance together, and of course, Tara Strike and Kara Kai made their entrance, the match gets started because Penelope pushes Holly Swag um into the ring and tells her that she's gonna start the match, and then Kara Kai gets it cracking with a couple of kicks to Holly Swag and winds up knocking her out. And even in the moments where Holly thinks she has the upper hand, she winds up getting like kicked in her head multiple times by Kara Kai, who tags in Terra Strike and proceeds to keep the kicks going over and over again. But eventually, we do get Penelope Pink in to sort of um, even up the odds. But as her and Holly keep tagging in, they keep forcefully tagging each other in, and they keep fussing back and forth at each other as if they're like sisters. And it's just the craziest thing ever because they're just like, girl, like, get in the ring, get in the ring, get in the ring over and over again, even though you would think that they were each other opponents and not the dojo defenders fighting them. Like, it was crazy watching their dynamic. But in the midst of this, Holly Swag is still mocking the karate moves of the dojo defenders. And somehow or another, Penelope and Holly are working pretty well together, even in the midst of their aggression towards each other. And in the midst of Kara and Penelope, Kara hitting a Northern Light suplex and a kick to Penelope Pink and getting a really close 2 count, Holly hit her hitch and ditch while the referee was distracted by Lana Star. And Penelope got pulled in for the cover for the 3 count because she was actually the legal competitor, and she won the match. So Penelope Pink and Holly Swag actually got the victory here. And in the midst of this, Holly decides to cut a promo after their victory and says, PP, look, PP, I told you it was going to work. I told you we was going to be the best tag team. We're just alike. We think just alike. We're like twins. Your finishing move is so cool. You have got to teach me that. And she forces a hug onto Penelope. And here again, Penelope is not here for it. And I feel like Holly in this case is being very delusional. She is being very delusional with the idea that Penelope could be friends with her. Like, ma'am, it's not working. And every time something like this happens, it just makes me think about what Big Rig Betty said to her when she decided to join them, and what Jesse Jones said to her when she decided to join the Fab Four. She was like, look, they're only going to use you what they can get out of you. And when they stop and when they get tired of using you, they're only going to throw you away and toss you to the side. And as excited as Lotta Star seems to be to have her on her side and a part of the team, it's almost like Penelope, who really started this Fab Four thing rolling as Lana's protege, like she should have some say and say, look, I'm not okay with this girl being here. I don't like this, get her away. But it seems like Lana really is trying to push the idea of Holly being a part of their team. So we're going to see how long this lasts, but I'm just not sure it's going to last that long because Penelope makes it very clear when she does not like something or does not like someone. And it's abundantly clear that she does not like Holly Swag at all. So, and of course, Penelope is not interested in tag team action or the tag team titles. She is only interested in singles gold. She has only ever been interested in the WoW World Championship, never interested in any other title except that one. So to her, competing in tag team action might be a step down. So is Penelope willing to take a step down? I don't think so. So we just gonna have to wait and see what happens after that. Um yeah, it's interesting. So after this, we did have another match between Scout Parker, formerly known as Ice Cold, going up against Ashley Blaze. We have more Black excellence for Black History Month. Ashley Blaze has actually in the episode before the one I just covered, she actually main evented against Penelope Pink and had an excellent showing. But in a number of her matches since she's debuted, she's had a couple of losses. So hopefully she was able to turn it around with this match here. But the thing about Scout Parker is because she has this new attitude of green and trying to protect the planet and everything, she has a little bit more aggression than she once had before. And in this match, Scout was ready to give um Ashley Blaze what for, because for all of the pizzazz that Ashley was bringing to this match, Scout Parker was really taking it to the ground and pound when it came to taking down Ashley Blaze. Like Miss Ma'am just kept wrenching on Ashley Blaze's arm and wrists and shoulders throughout this entire match and kept finding creative ways to do it over and over again. As you can see in this picture, even with the straight jacket hold, but she kept running her knees into Ashley Blaze's arm. She kept attacking her shoulder and twisting her arms into the ropes and everything. Like it was hurting me just to look at it. Like it reminded me of the first time I saw Becky Lynch fight Mercedes Monet, also known as Sasha Banks, at NXT in the first match they ever had for the NXT Women's title, and how they kept trying to destroy each other's limbs. That's what this match was giving to me, and that's what Scout Parker was giving to me here too. Now, when she was ice cold in the last two seasons, we saw a lot of her high flying, but in this iteration of her character, she is definitely taking a more grounded approach in her wrestling, and I really appreciate that. But Ashley Blaze got upset and proceeded to fight back a whole lot. And not taking it well. And she actually battled back with a side headlock takeover and hit a TKO. It's her move that she calls a TKO. But it reminded me a lot of John Cena's attitude adjustment. When she, well, not the attitude adjustment. It reminded me of an F5. That's really what it reminded me of. And she hit it onto Scout Parker and she wound up winning. So this was her first wow victory. So big ups to Ashley Blaze for that. And of course, she cut a promo with David McLean, who was really excited for her in this regard. Ashley Blaze talked about how the talent of WoW is phenomenal, but she talked about how she is the varsity player of WoW and that she's thankful to be a part of the WoW roster. And given everything she had gone through in terms of mental health struggles and injuries, it is really great to see her bounce back and find a place of belonging here at WoW. So big ups to Ashley Blaze for this victory. She ate down, but also so did Scout Parker too. So it was really great. Yay, Ashley. So, in the midst of all of this, we do have a backstage encounter with our girl, Sibley Skulls, who was looking to get an interview with the Classmaster before her main event title match. And Samantha Smart did not seem too happy to have to talk to Sibley Skulls. She called her short because she was taller than her. And I'm just like, girl, you're not that much taller than her. But okay, since you want to attack the girl's height, let's do that. Um, and she said that she hates that Sibley was making it seem like Princess Aussie had a chance in their title match. And she was just really insulting to her. And Sibley was like, you're yelling at me, and I'm really just trying to figure out what's going to go on in this match and how she's going to perform. And that was really the end of that. It was a cutoff, and then David McLean bigged up the match after that point. So the main event was the Classmaster versus Princess Aussie for the Wild World title. But before we get into that match, this weekend on WoW, we do have some amazing matchups announced. They did announce that Genesis is going one on one with Xena Phoenix, the Albanian grappler. And they also said there's going to be a couple of tag team matches thrown in there as well. So this weekend is going to be really cool in terms of tag team action. So hopefully you'll be able to catch it. Um, and then of course next week we'll figure out how the post show is going to go. So we go to the main event: Princess Aussie versus the Classmaster for the WoW World Championship. When this match was announced, I got excited because Princess Aussie is definitely one of my WoW faves. She is a friend of the show. Well, basically everybody is a friend of the show when it comes to us. But Princess Aussie is very supportive, and she's been so sweet. And when she was the WoW World Champion the first time, I was very excited, but also pretty bummed out because she didn't get her championship celebration like so many of the other girls have gotten. Um, in terms of confetti and their moment in the sun because of course of the shenanigans of Lana Star. So it was really good to see her get this opportunity, especially after the battle royal and everything. I was really hoping that my girl was going to get a lot of offense in, and she did with a number of kicks and a number of her flexibility spots where at one point she actually reversed into a flip. She reversed Classmaster into a flip and her head hit the turnbuckle. That was really cool. But the Classmaster's strength and brute force was definitely on display in this match. She kept stomping on Princess Aussie's back and kept hitting a number of leg drops onto her. But the thing that a lot of people don't give Classmaster a lot of credit for is the fact that she is a really sound grappler in the ring as well, and she will submit you out. And that was on display in this match as well. She tried to submit Princess Aussie out a couple of times. But Princess Aussie has a fighting spirit, and that's something um that has carried her through a lot of her matches, be it tag team or whatever title match she's in. And even as the Classmaster locked in her scholar collar and her bookmark to try to knock Princess Aussie off, she just kept trying to fight out. And there was one point where she even hit her cutter from down under onto the Classmaster, but it worked to no avail because here again, it pays to have a manager in WoW. And the Classmaster actually slung Princess Aussie into the turnbuckle, and Samantha Smart put the book in front of the turnbuckle, which had something in it, and Princess Aussie hit her head on the book, and the Classmaster hit her expulsion move for the 1, 2, 3, and she retained her WoW World Championship. So that's how the episode ended. The Classmaster is still our WoW World Champion, and I'm more than sure at this point, with Samantha Smart by her side, it's going to take a really strategic and strong WoW superhero to knock her off her perch. So that's the end of our double dose episode of Steph and Cat Talk WoW, but mostly Steph Talk WoW in this case because my tag team partner's not with me, but it's okay. Thank you guys so much for watching on this Friday night where I'm more than sure you could be watching SmackDown at this point. But of course, if you're watching with me or watching this on live, thank you so much. And of course, if you could not catch it while it was live, you can catch it later on both of our YouTube channels, like I always say, on on In Cat We Trust. Follow her everywhere at In Cat We Trust. E is the three. And of course, you can follow me, your girl Stephanie Hardy, at on Instagram and Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy. You can follow my show, The Hardy Wrestling Podcast, on Instagram at Hardy Wrestling Podcast and on Twitter at Hardy WrestlePod. If you have noticed, I have been posting a lot of my older content because tomorrow is the 5 year anniversary of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast. And I am so grateful to have been in this wrestling space for 5 years. I can't believe so much time has already passed. Um, so much has happened, so much has been covered, so many opportunities have been had, so many friends have been made, family has been made. I'm just really grateful for it, and I'm really happy to have created a space to talk about wrestling as a whole, and been an advocate for women's wrestling and just a creative soul in this space and just being welcomed in it. And I hope to continue to grow. And I'm pretty sure I'll have more to say in the next few days, but I'm just really grateful on this platform. I'm happy to have created to have co-created this show with Katrina where we can talk about the WoW superheroes and talk to the WoW superheroes. If you haven't caught any of our interviews, please do so on YouTube as well. And it's just been a fun ride, and I'm just really grateful for that. It's had its ups and downs, even having a down today, but we're just not going to worry about that because at the end of the day, um, I'm an icon. I'm an icon living just like Jaden Smith, and nothing is ever going to get in the way of that. I am her, I am a queen, and stop, Jock, you're going to make me cry. Um, and I've accomplished a lot. So I'm just really grateful. And of course, if you don't know where you can find WoW, know that you can watch it. You can figure out where to watch it on wowe.com. That's WoW's website. You can type in your zip code and see where it comes on for you on regular television. If you live in Alabama, it usually comes on my 68 at 6 p.m. on Saturdays. If it's not preempted by any random sport that we've got going on. Um, so you can watch it there. You can also watch it on Vice television on Tuesday nights. It comes on there. And it also comes on Pluto TV because on there and also on Samsung televisions, there's a 24-hour WoW channel. So you can check it out there. You can also find it on their YouTube channel where they post all their matches from the weekend's episode on Mondays. And then they post a full episode later too. So subscribe to them there, buy their merchandise as well, and just continue to support women's wrestling as a whole because we are out here, we are doing the things. Um, and also support trans women in sports as well because they've been going through a lot of attacking. And trans women are women. And that's something that I believe. I'm an ally. So, of course, if you need a safe space, you are more than welcome to being on any one of my spaces. If you are a trans female wrestler, you can be on my show. And if you're a trans male wrestler, you can be on my show. Um, Trans men, trans women are women, and I wholeheartedly support you in every which way imaginable. So yeah, let's not keep people out of sports because they're different. Like that's trash. So yeah, I just wanted to take some time and say that. So, with that in mind, this has been Steph and Cat Talk Wow, brought to you by the Hardy Wrestling Podcast and In Cat We Trust. And until next time, bye, y'all.